Coming up in today's food adventure, we're diving deep into Hakka cuisine and oh boy, I think I'm in love.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Peter and I take a wrong turn, but discover a slice of local life along the way and some seriously cool architecture, as well as the history behind it. And all rounded off with a fabulous, cheap, local breakfast.
Oh my god. 中六份可以揾完你識飲嘢嗎？
So stay tuned, grab your snacks, and as always, don't forget to subscribe.
Hello, and welcome to another Chinese food adventure with my buddy Peter here.
Bonjour.
I mean, he looks happy now, but man, you should have seen him before he had his coffee. This is like rule number one when it comes to traveling with Peter. Do not mess with him before he's had his coffee.
Exactly.
I'm so excited today because we're actually heading to a city, an area that I've never been to before, and diving deep.
为营造城市手信、文明乘车的良好氛围，
That's fine.
请大家
We just wait.
请文明使用车上电源，
Common sense.
不要在车内食用浓重气味的食品。请文明使用座椅，沉重的物件不要放在上面。感谢您的配合，祝您旅途愉快。
No English, no English, no English.
各位旅客，为营造城市手信、文明乘车的良好氛围。
One eternity later.
Oh, it stopped. Okay, let's continue. So I'm really excited today basically because we're heading to a new city, a new area and exploring a local culture that I've only really ever scratched the surface of before.
So today we're heading to Meizhou, a city in the northeast of Guangdong province, a place known as the Hakka Capital of the world. And as you can imagine, it's an incredible pocket of Hakka people, Hakka culture, mind-blowing Hakka architecture, and of course the Hakka cuisine.
So Hakka people, they originated from the northern part of China. So nowadays, Henan, Anhui, or Shandong, like that region. And then they migrated to the south to Guangdong and Fujian because of wars and instabilities in their region. And they call themselves 客家人, which literally means guest people.
Why do they call themselves that?
So when they were migrating to the south, instead of like adopting to local culture and customs, they kind of like kept to themselves and then developed a quite unique culture that is different from the other groups in the region.
I guess they also have a unique cuisine as well, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Today's about to be an epic Hakka food adventure, so let's get us a car and head to food stop number 1.
Some interesting artwork on this car here. Okie dokie.
师傅，想问一下，你是客家人吗？
是。
He even taught us some 客家话 Hakka dialect.
你好，
你好，你好，
吃饭你就吃饭。
吃饭。梅州就看起来是人不太多。
对，人不多，基本上年轻人都留外出去了，都走了。
So first stop is lunch, and I'm keen to get right in there and try some typical Hakka dishes.
This restaurant is absolutely incredible. I don't think I've ever seen a restaurant quite like it. Check this out.
This restaurant is situated inside a repurposed traditional Hakka home with over 120 years of history. This style of Hakka home is called a Weilong Wu and features a semicircular front and back with the living area in the middle of the structure. A Weilong Wu is only one of the many varieties of Hakka residential structures. You may also be familiar with Tulou. I visited them a few years ago in Fujian province, and they're large, enclosed and fortified earth buildings and can be either circular or rectangular in configuration.
以前为什么建土楼？为什么？就是防土匪。以前是土匪，我们有土枪，干燥有土枪，我们打下去，土匪就靠不进来。旁边啊，周边。 四通八达都有4枪口。
他们那种呢，就是防御功能比较强，但是呢，它的居住舒适度呢就不如我们这种半开放式的。
But there are definite similarities. Both are large, multi-family communal living structures that are designed to be easily defensible.
客家人为什么这样子住呢？因为客家人是从中原一带，因为战乱往这一边迁到这边之后呢，所以说大家住在一起，有什么事情的话才可以帮忙。
And I tell you, every single angle and feature of this structure has been so thought through from both a practical and spiritual perspective.
你看它前面呢是一个半月形的风水堂，这个风水堂呢除了风水，第2大功能是消防。 为什么？因为这房子是土木建造的。第3大功能呢，就是灌溉。以前旁边有一块小菜地，我们浇菜、养鱼、洗衣服， 靠的就是这口风水汤。
It was explained to us that for the Hakka people, water is wealth.
客家人是中原一带迁过来嘛，来到这种地方呢是属于8分山1分水1分田，等于就是都是山。
And these Weilong Wu are built in such a way that they actually back onto the mountains.
为什么要前面有水后面有山呢？我们讲究的是前有灶，后有靠。
So what used to be a residential building for an extended family is now a restaurant, and every room can be used for dining purposes throughout all areas of this incredible building complex. And here is our dining room here.
I feel like this place itself can be a tourist attraction.
And I learned that this room would have actually been a bedroom back in the day.
The waiter taking us in, he was mentioning that this place was actually built by a Hakka person living in Thailand.
客家人的属于儒家思想，赚到钱之后呢，要拿回来光宗耀祖。值得一提的是，这个老板，这个餐厅的老板是这个房子的第5代后人，等于是我老板的曾太公给留下来的这一个祖产。
Yeah, I'm really excited to actually try some of this food, and I'm completely out of my depth here, Peter. Like,
Well, I mean, like for me, I only know like a few basic dishes.
你可以推荐3道客家的菜，
最典型的、最经典的客家菜。
盐鸡土鸡、梅菜扣肉、围龙豆腐。
And when it comes to carbs, the waiter recommended we try this. It's a concept known as ban, which in Hakka culture can refer to either snacks or cakes.
它的外皮是米做的还是木薯粉 ？Tapioca.
Oh, cool!
First dish to arrive was the Meizhou kou rou, braised pork belly with pickled mustard leaves, closely followed by a yanjuji, salt-baked chicken.
The dishes are so cute here, and they have these little eggs in a tree that you can actually eat.
I am speechless.
Next came our nyang doufu, stuffed tofu, and I mean, wow, how beautiful does this table of food look?
I'm already blown away.
So we have our salt-baked chicken.
The origin of this was from the period when they were migrating towards the south, and then it was really hard to keep like any produce fresh.
So the story goes they preserved the shelf life of chicken during the long migration south by absolutely covering the entire chicken in salt, and the presentation of the dish earlier definitely nods to this history.
Look at that chicken. I don't want to say tender and moist because she actually gave us 2 options.
鸡土鸡有2种，一种是比较干身型的，一种是比较湿一点的。传统的就是比较干的。
So we opted for the local way, and let's see how it is.
Salty. Definitely salty.
Fragrant.
Chickeny.
I mean, like, even though she said this is on the drier side, but I don't really feel like this is like very dry.
No, definitely not.
But honestly, it was hard to concentrate on the chicken with this dish here wafting its aroma over at me. I tell you, it smelled incredible.
Here we have a pork belly with preserved vegetable. So this preserved vegetable is actually called Meizhou. Mei, that's the same character as the character of Meizhou. Yeah, it's like locally preserved vegetables.
我们这一个梅菜呢是3蒸3晒2年以上的老梅菜，糖化呢是刚刚好，就是你吃的时候它又香又有点甜。
And I heard that you'll find a lot of preserved vegetables in this region, especially by Hakka people.
You do.
Also tells the story of migration and hardship. They had to make the most of what they could find and preserve and pickle vegetables.
Oh my gosh, this is like literally falling apart. Yeah.
Oh wow, it looks amazing. Smells amazing. Let's go.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
That is the most succulent, delicious piece of meat I've had in some time.
Falls apart in your mouth.
That fat is buttery, and then that lean meat is also, it's really well cooked. The whole thing falls apart in your mouth.
So good.
It's got this really sweet undertone to it,
Yeah.
and a saltiness, but also a slight pickliness that I can detect. So I want to try some of this meizhou.
Yep. Try something on its
Yeah,
own.
it's a bit sour.
I kind of feel like the flavor of the pickled veggie that cuts through the grease
Yes.
of this dish.
That's going to be hard to beat, but we do have 2 more dishes on our table here.
Next up, we're trying our nyang doufu, stuffed tofu. And would you believe me if I told you this dish was inspired by dumplings?
When the Hakka people came from the north of China to the south of China, they, like a lot of northern people, would make jiaozi, dumplings with wheat flour. But as you may know, in the south, you don't have as much wheat crop as you do in the north. It's more
We do not.
rice. So instead of using wheat for the, the pea of the jiaozi, they instead turned to tofu, which is plentiful in this region as well. So basically, from what I understand, this is like a jiaozi, but with tofu as the skin instead of wheat. Wow. So basically we have a very soft piece of tofu here, and on the inside you can see some meat there. It smells really rich as well, really rich and hearty.
Oh my gosh. smelling so good. C'est incroyable.
It is
incredible.
so soft. Hakka cuisine has just been sleeping on us this whole time. This is some of the best food I've had in Guangdong. Maybe it's because I have a Zhongkou way. This food really speaks to me. It's so strong and heavy and like rich. I love it.
Party food is not really something that people really associate with Guangdong, but we are a very diverse province.
Yeah, the main thing that reminds me of a dumpling is the filling inside. It does remind me of the inside of a jiaozi. Tofu takes away from any jiaozi quality like I've had before.
Oh, well, I mean, I wouldn't exactly agree. They really did a very good job of like replicating jiaozi with the tofu as like the outside wrapper.
Yeah.
But it gives its own uniqueness. Yeah, this is amazing. I am having another one.
You ate the whole thing? Wow, Peter, you have such a big mouth.
Next up, we have our ban, filled with bamboo shoots and mushrooms with a tapioca starch wrapping.
Ban means something that is wrapped in a wrapper.
I mean, you can definitely tell that the Hakka people miss their dumplings. They've done
They do.
everything they can to recreate
The
a dumpling.
dumpling.
I even saw
Yes.
on the menu they have egg dumplings.
Yes.
Like wrapped in egg.
egg.
Wow, that texture looks like it's going to be seriously glutinous. And it's very dense. That is really heavy. That could knock a man out. I mean, maybe that's also a secondary feature of this dish because the Hakka people were very interested in their safety and defense, like you see it in their housing structures. Maybe through the little holes in the structure, they were throwing these ban. Stay away from my family.
That's a very wild guess. But anyways,
I mean,
let's try
it cannot be verified. Whoa. Did you eat that whole thing?
Dense. And then the filling actually provides a lot of different textures.
It's very crunchy and also sour. I guess another example of a pickled vegetable in there.
And actually, did you taste like a slight hint of pepperiness?
Yes, also peppery. Again, heavy, rich,
Hearty.
I also love that every dish that we've had here somehow relates back to the culture and the history of the Kejiayan and how they've, migrated, how they've gone through hardship, how they've really had to figure out how to make the most of not that much and survive in harsh regions.
This is a perfect example of like how you can see through food to their history.
That was a really cool experience dining at that restaurant and, being inside a Weilongwu. But this is a Weilongwu in the middle of this kind of city environment. I'm keen to see it in more of a countryside environment.
Yep.
And there's actually a lot of places scattered around Meizhou, lots of little townships that have really authentic, old school Hakka Weilongwu that you can actually go and visit.
So we're currently en route to one now called Qiaoxiangcun, or literally Village of Returned Overseas Chinese. And I found it online, and apparently it features a whole collection of different kinds of Weilongwu. But our TD driver had quite some difficulty finding it, and when we were somewhat close on the map, he just started going down random side streets, and it was then we actually spotted our first Weilongwu in this local village. So we got out to explore.
This is a hair salon.
Really? Wait, that's the most random hair salon I've ever seen.
Turns out this hair salon was not a Weilongwu at all, but some other variety of Hakka world structure. But next door, we did spot a Weilongwu, and it is so cool seeing one out here after learning all about them at the restaurant earlier. While smaller, it's got the same shape and design principles, and a pond at the front, which isn't just for decoration, but it's still used for living purposes.
Yeah, so I can kind of relate to this. In Cantonese and Hakka and like the whole general southern China culture, we are saying like water signifies wealth. So of course, like we're not gonna let water just go to waste. Like we're gonna find a way to like lead the water into the pond. So we're collecting wealth.
Look at that big Weilongwu over there. From here you can see it.
Oh yeah.
Just straight in front, there.
Walking around finding Weilongwu in this beautiful landscape gave us an amazing opportunity to see a slice of daily Hakka life. And what's even better is we could really connect what we were seeing here back to what we learned during our lunchtime experience.
Are they making preserved vegetables here?
Yes, actually they are mustard leaves. These will turn into Meizhou.
Which is this here, what we ate earlier at the restaurant. It's so cool to see it in the context of how it's actually locally prepared in the village.
Wow, so this is a really big Weilongwu that we found in the village. I mean, you can probably see how big it's going to be by the size of the pond out the front. It's quite relative to the size of the building itself. And this is the front gates of the Weilongwu.
We were lucky enough to get a tour of this Weilongwu from its owner, but this owner doesn't actually live inside it anymore.
现在还有人在这里面住吗？
很少，那个都搬到外面做回来，那个都做到那个租里那个。
都住到外面的房子里面去。
这里
He was pretty much saying that like nobody really lives here anymore. Like they pretty much live in like this kind of new structures, which I do think it makes sense. Like local people, they do want to like live in a more desirable condition with like running water, with like modern facilities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which, well, I mean, it's sad to see Weilongwu actually go like this, but come on, there's no choice.
我们这个出名的那个是南华右楼。
哦，对对对，网上有看到过。
就是国家重点的房子啊，那里有一座桥过去就是。
This is actually what I found online that I was trying to get to. And where we were before was also this village, but I guess this is like the touristy side of it.
Where we ended up was like the other side of the road, which is like a more, you know, more rural, more original kind of village.
Well, I'm glad we actually went there first because we actually got to see a real slice of local life.
So here they have a whole cluster of different sized and shaped Weilongwu scattered throughout the area, but because by the time we arrived it was nearing sunset, we only had time to check out one, and this one here looks a whole lot different to the others. It's the Nanhua Youlu square building that the man on the motorbike mentioned earlier.
Works for me.
Works for us.
He led us through the house and wow, it is absolutely massive. So many rooms and twists and turns and courtyards. We also got to hear a bit about its family history and oh boy, is it juicy.
Welcome to the Real Housewives of Meizhou. So basically around 120 years ago, this house was really, I mean, there must have been some serious drama because let me show you over here. Basically, the guy who owns this house, he had 6 wives. Well, 1 real wife and then like 5 concubines, right?
Yep, exactly.
And then the wives and concubines, they lived like here, 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 here.
Their rooms were tiny and now we just saw them. Like their sons have bigger rooms than their moms.
So you can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 for each of the sons. There were 8 sons in total. On top, this is the name of the son. Every single one of these abodes have the name on the front. And this is basically what each son got for him to live in with his wife or wives, children.
If only walls could talk.
I can't imagine the fights that went on in that household. Man, 6 wives. How are you supposed to handle 6 wives?
Oh, well, in
I'm
Chinese,
1 wife and I already give my husband a handful.
Well, in Chinese, we say 3个女人一台戏, so which means 3 women can basically create a drama. So 6 women, I guess that will be 2 dramas.
Yeah, many, many dramas. And basically the sun is now going down, so I think that's enough Weilongwu exploration for one day. That's been so fascinating. And we are both really full, right?
Yeah.
So we will not be having dinner tonight, but we will compromise by having breakfast tomorrow morning. Hello from breakfast.
Hello.
So we've just had a very funny last 5 minutes. So the funny thing was that our taxi driver that picked us up is the same driver that we have had for 3 times already here in Meizhou. He's very identifiable because he has these very interesting stickers on the side of his car. So we were talking in the car with him about what we wanted to eat, which is basically this dish called yan mian.
它就是放调料，然后拌一下就叫腌面。
It's a dish I've been seeing for sale everywhere and it seems to be the go-to breakfast here in Meizhou.
你今天早上也吃了吗？
对。
真的吗？
我们基本上1个月大概有半个月的时间都是会在吃这些东西早上。
Anyway, we arrive at the restaurant. It's closed. 你最喜欢的在哪儿？
我最喜欢的就在你们酒店旁边那里，我们吃的就是那里的腌面就比较香一点。
好，你可以带我们去吗？
可以。
好，谢谢。So he's taken us here, which
And
is
we're
where
here.
he says he eats at every day. He was like yelling out the window to the boss, like, "Hey, I brought two people to come have some yan mian."
小朋友，送2份威滾鹽你識飲咩嗎？
So this is the yan mian in question. Basically wheat noodles with toppings of crispy deep fried garlic, seasoned fish sauce and lard.
And we also have 2 soups here. What soup is this? Like a...
Well, this one is a beef soup, and then this one is the 三吉地汤, so apparently pork and some pork offals.
I wonder if we put this sauce on it as well. At first impressions, it's looking less flavored, but when you smell it, it smells very flavorful. It smells quite garlicky.
I actually smelled lard.
Okay, enough smelling, let's get in there and eat it.
For me, what I like about these noodles is the texture. The texture of those noodles itself, they're like slightly chewy.
I just bit on like tiny bit of fried garlic. It was so garlicky.
I know. I really like
love
that
it.
taste. And slightly crunchy as well.
Oh yes.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Italian, like, how do you say this pasta? I'm really bad at saying it. olio, aglio, olio. It's like that pasta that's basically like pasta with a garlic oily sauce. They have this sauce on the table. It smells so garlicky. I'm just gonna put a little bit on top so that if I don't like it, it won't infect the whole bowl. Wow.
Good?
It's not that spicy, it's just really garlicky.
But you know, like, every time I eat any kind of spicy food, that's pretty much like sending me straight to Inferno. Oh my God. This is no joke.
We also learned from the driver it's really common for locals to order their noodles with a side of soup known as santidi, so we got 2.
So this is basically pork and pork offal and some spinach inside.
That's
maybe.
not spinach.
What is it?
That's the leaves of the plant of goji berry.
Oh, that's so cool. I don't know if I've ever tried that.
Good?
It's good. It's like porky, slightly bitter from those goji berry leaves, I'd say.
I mean, I kind of feel like the bitterness is kind of like cutting through the grease of the pork.
It's nice. I mean, it's yeah, it's nice.
Great.
I have to say my eye is attracting me more to this one with a bit of a tomato in there as well.
But I see ginger, so I'm not quite sure.
You don't like ginger?
Well, I mean, I like it in my dish, but I'm not gonna eat it by itself.
Oh my gosh, Dialk and I have started doing this thing at home where we just get a slice of ginger like that thick, put a little bit of honey on it, and it's like our immunity boost for the day. And at first it was really hard to do, but you get used to it, and now I'm like craving my ginger shot in the morning.
Alrighty, you do you, and I'm gonna take out this piece of ginger. Like,
oh, give it to me.
Please.
Can I have this one? I really like this. It's gingery, tomatoey, beefy. It's beautiful. This is perfect for me.
You know what? Before you have this one, I'm gonna steal another bite. Actually, my initial plan was to let Amy have this, like the more traditional one, and I ordered a beef for myself.
Oh really? What if we
ahead.
get one more?
So we ordered one more and all was right in the world.
Well, eat it with the noodle, I guess.
What I really like about this soup specifically is because it just provides such a sharp difference in flavor to those noodles, especially now that I've added all of this garlic chili sauce. That is just a whack bang of garlickiness. And then this, on the other hand, it's herby. It's got that ginger kick inside as well. The tomato that's giving it that like acidity and sourness. It's just like a nice little break from those garlicky noodles. Well, that officially brings us to the end of today's food adventure. As always, thank you so much for joining me. This video wouldn't be what it is without you and your local knowledge, so thank you so much. And it was so fun exploring this area with you. My favorite memory is definitely from the village yesterday, walking through this beautiful scenery.
Oh yeah,
with us just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, like literally, I was so confused about what we were doing yesterday, but like it turned out to be great.
Yeah, even though we went to the wrong place, it ended up being the right place for us in that moment. We got really a slice of local life and got to see, you know, the Meizhou being
being dried on the ground.
Yeah, we got to go inside
someone's Weilongwu.
Yeah, so that was really, really interesting. We are about to get on a train and go to
somewhere else.
Favorite gastronomical city of China, basically.
Do not tell them where it is because they're gonna be watching that video afterwards.
You got to stay tuned, but I'm pretty sure you can know what I'm talking about from what I just said. So yeah, we will see you guys next week. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you're following Peter as well. And we will see you next week. Bye, guys.